Welcome, dear listener, to a journey across time and myth, where marble temples still whisper old tales. Tonight, we walk into the realm of Olympus, where gods and mortals once shared the same winds and skies. Our focus is Athena, the Eternal Spear Goddess, born not in battle, but in brilliance and sudden radiance. Her story is one of wisdom, courage, and the quiet power that guides, rather than conquers or destroys. Imagine her presence, tall, calm, with eyes reflecting both the stars above and the earth below. She is not the thunder of war, but the steady light of strategy, fairness, and lasting truth. Her spear is not a weapon of bloodshed, but a symbol, pointing the way toward clarity and justice. In her silence lies command, and in her calm, a storm of ideas shaping the destiny of cities. She carries the owl, companion of the night, teaching us to see through shadow into deeper truth. This tale is not about battles lost or won, but about guidance, protection, and timeless understanding. Let us step together into her story and discover how Athena's eternal spear still glows for us today. They say every beginning holds a spark, and Athena's birth was unlike any tale whispered by the ancients. High above the world, on the shining throne of Olympus, Zeus sat troubled, his head heavy with mystery. A great pressure grew inside him, a storm of thought and vision, unlike the rage of thunder or the weight of rain. The other gods watched in silence, uncertain, for the king of the sky seemed shaken, yet strangely calm. Then, with a burst not of fire but of light, a figure emerged, radiant and complete, as if destiny itself unfolded. Athena stepped forth, not as a child, but as a goddess already crowned with wisdom and quiet authority. Her armor gleamed like dawn, though no battle yet touched her, and her presence stilled the halls of Olympus. In her hand appeared a spear, shining, not dripping with war, but pointing toward balance, truth, and vision. The gods marveled, not at power alone, but at the clarity she brought, a light cutting through divine uncertainty. From Zeus's mind, she had sprung, a living thought given form, a wisdom born in the heart of eternity. No cries of pain, no clash of swords, only the sudden calm of understanding when confusion gives way to truth. Hera looked on with awe. Poseidon paused his waves, and even Ares, the restless, felt a hush in his spirit. For in Athena they saw not fury, but guidance, not conquest, but a steady compass for both gods and mortals. The halls of Olympus, once filled with noise, now echoed with reverence, as if the stars bowed in silence. Athena's eyes shone deep, reflecting not just the heavens, but the earth waiting below, rich with possibility. Her first step on the marble floor resounded like a promise, a vow to serve as guardian of wisdom's flame. The spear she carried was eternal, not forged in fire, but formed from the unbreakable thread of divine clarity. It did not demand fear, it invited trust, calling all who saw it to walk with justice and measured strength. The gods whispered among themselves, yet no envy rose, for Athena's presence felt more gift than challenge. She belonged not to rivalry, but to guidance, offering light to the heroes and mortals she would one day aid. Some say an owl circled above her at that moment, wings soft in the golden air, eyes sharp in stillness. The bird became her companion, the mirror of her vision, perceiving truth where others saw only shadow. And so her story began, not with battles, not with wounds, but with the unveiling of wisdom into the world. From the thought of a god, she came alive, carrying with her the clarity mortals long for in endless night. Athena, Eternal Spear Goddess, stood not for destruction, but for order, fairness, and the courage of mind. Each god that day knew Olympus had changed, for wisdom now walked among them, steady and eternal. And below, on earth, though mortals did not yet know her name, a new protector had entered their destiny. The olive tree had not yet grown, the city had not yet risen, but the promise of peace already stirred. Her spear pointed forward, a symbol not of war, but of direction, guiding humankind toward brighter paths. This was her birth, sudden yet timeless, brilliant yet gentle. The dawn of Athena, child of thought and flame. The eternal spear would never rust, for it was not metal, but the living symbol of knowledge everlasting. And so, as the first chapter of her tale, we remember not thunder, but light, not chaos, but radiant calm. Athena's beginning is the reminder that wisdom itself is a birth, a sudden awakening into endless clarity. Athena's story did not rest on her birth alone, for soon the gods and mortals would see her many gifts unfold. She was not only the guardian of wisdom, but the patroness of crafts, of hands that shaped beauty from silence. When others raised swords, Athena raised knowledge, teaching that thought and creation were stronger than violence. Her temple halls echoed with looms and chisels, the soft beat of artisans who worked with quiet devotion. She guided their hands, whispering patience, reminding them that each thread, each stone, was part of destiny's design. To weave, to carve, to shape. These acts were sacred, each one a mirror of order and clarity in the world. The gods admired her skill, for she was a strategist in thought and a mentor in craft, balancing mind and hand. Her wisdom was not distant. It bent down toward the mortal heart, gifting them ways to thrive with dignity. The loom became her symbol of harmony, a tapestry stretching wide, telling stories of sky, earth, and spirit. Every woven pattern was a lesson. Life is interlaced. Strength comes from threads bound together in purpose. Athena smiled upon potters, sculptors, and weavers, guiding them to shape not only objects, but culture itself. Her spear shone bright, yet her loom shone brighter. For creation was the eternal counterweight to destruction. The goddess taught that the sharpest weapon is the mind, and the truest shield is the skill of one's hands. When mortals prayed for guidance, she gave not thunder, but craft, not fear, but tools to shape their lives. She was a goddess who celebrated the builder, the dreamer, the hand that could transform clay into wonder. Athena's wisdom spread across valleys as farmers learned patience in planting and builders learned vision in stone. To her, every honest craft was holy, each task a reflection of the divine spark within mortal hearts. Even the gods sought her counsel, for her strategies were threads of foresight, woven into the cloth of destiny. Zeus himself admired her clarity, for Athena's plans held not fury, but a balance of justice and foresight. Where Ares charged blindly, Athena calculated, seeing paths invisible, mapping outcomes no one else could see. Her wisdom was not cold, but warm, a guiding flame that offered structure to chaos without extinguishing hope. She became the goddess of strategy, not because she loved war, but because she understood the art of choice. A single decision, she taught, could shape the fate of cities, just as a single thread could complete a tapestry. The owl perched by her side, eyes watching closely, as if recording the lessons she offered to the world. With every gaze, the owl reminded mortals to look deeper, beyond surface glitter, into the hidden design. Athena's voice was steady, her lessons gentle but firm, urging courage tempered with thought and restraint. To the young, she gave discipline. To the wise, she gave perspective. To the lost, she gave direction. Her presence filled not just temples, but workshops, schools, and councils where choices steered the course of life. Athena's gift was clear: the marriage of wisdom and craft, the bond of reason and creation, mind and hand. Through her, humankind learned that true greatness is not in conquest, but in the quiet strength of creation. She is remembered not only in myths of heroes, but in every act of making, every work born of patience. For in each woven cloth, carved stone, or painted urn, the eternal light of Athena's wisdom still glimmers. And thus she became both strategist and artisan, guiding gods and mortals alike toward clarity and harmony. Long after her birth, Athena's wisdom was tested when the people of a small land sought a divine protector. The land was rich in promise, but fragile, needing a blessing to guide it toward growth and lasting harmony. Two mighty gods came forward, each offering a gift, each hoping to be chosen as guardian of the new city. Poseidon, lord of the sea, raised his trident high, striking the earth with a surge of his oceanic power. From the cracked ground rose a fountain of salt water, glittering under the sun, fierce and untamed like the waves. The people gasped at its power, for the sea promised ships, strength, and the thrill of distant journeys. But when they tasted the water, it burned their lips with salt, leaving thirst rather than comfort behind. Athena stepped forward, calm and radiant, her spear shining not as a weapon, but as a staff of guidance. She lowered her hand to the soil, and from the earth sprouted a small tree, roots steady, branches wide. It was an olive tree, simple yet enduring, its leaves silver in the sunlight, its promise deep and quiet. The people gazed upon it, uncertain at first, for its power was not thunderous like Poseidon's wild waves. Yet Athena spoke gently. This tree would bring oil for lamps, nourishment for bodies, and wood for shelter. It was not a gift of force, but of life, a symbol of peace, wisdom, and prosperity for generations. The crowd murmured, for they saw not a fleeting wonder, but a lasting gift, one that could sustain forever. Poseidon frowned, for his gift was mighty but harsh, while Athena's gift was humble but filled with promise. The council of the people chose the tree, and with that choice, they chose Athena as their eternal protector. From that day forward, the city was called Athens, bearing her name, crowned with her sacred olive grove. The tree grew tall in the heart of the land, its branches whispering wisdom, its fruit feeding countless lives. Every harvest, the people remembered her gift, a gift of peace over conquest, of nurture over fear. Athena's olive became more than food. It was light in the night, warmth in the cold, and healing in need. The oil burned gently in clay lamps, carrying fire without destruction, light without fury, calm without end. Builders carved wood from its branches, shaping tools, homes, and ships that carried hope across the seas. The goddess watched with quiet pride, for her gift had woven itself into the fabric of their existence. Athena's wisdom was not in giving power that dazzles, but in giving strength that endures through every season. The owl perched nearby, its gaze steady, as though affirming that true vision lies beyond immediate spectacle. In time, the olive tree became sacred, its trunk twisted with age, its roots deep in the soil of Athens. It stood as a silent guardian, reminding each generation of the goddess who chose peace over dominion. Travelers spoke of it, poets sang of it, and children played in its shade, all touched by its quiet grace. The olive was not only a tree, but a covenant between Athena and her people, a living bond of care. Athens thrived under her guidance, growing into a city of thought, art, and enduring pursuit of wisdom. Its stones held her name, its people carried her spirit, and its leaders sought her counsel in every choice. The eternal spear pointed not at enemies, but at futures, guiding Athens toward knowledge and creativity. And in every olive branch offered in peace, Athena's presence was felt, her gift alive in every gesture. So the goddess of wisdom gave the world a tree, and through it, she gave humanity the essence of hope. The story of the olive reminds us that greatness lies not in force, but in gifts that nourish and endure. Athens grew in the shadow of the olive tree, carrying the name of Athena like a crown upon its hills. The people walked with pride, knowing their city was chosen by a goddess whose wisdom surpassed all storms. Streets filled with merchants, artisans, and thinkers, each one touched by the promise of her guiding presence. The Parthenon would rise centuries later, but her spirit was already carved into every stone, every spoken word. Children grew beneath her gaze, learning that knowledge was as important as food, shelter, or safety. Athena gave them courage not by force, but by teaching that thought and harmony make a city strong. The city's heart was not war, but dialogue, not conquest, but creation, echoing the lessons of her olive gift. She walked unseen through the agora, where voices mingled in trade, debate, and the sharing of ideas. Each decision made there seemed touched by her clarity, as though her hand steered the balance of justice. The owls circled above the rooftops, silent witness to the conversations that shaped the destiny of Athens. In temples, offerings were placed not only of gold, but of simple oil pressed from her sacred tree. That oil lit lamps at night, spreading warmth across homes, workshops, and places where wisdom gathered. Athens became more than a city. It was a beacon, a flame of thought that drew eyes from distant lands. Travelers came not only to trade goods, but to learn, to hear voices that carried Athena's steady wisdom. Philosophers would one day speak in her shadow, but even in the earliest days, seeds of reason were sown. Athena's blessing was not loud, but enduring, like a steady river that carves valleys over endless time. She did not need to march in armor through the streets, for her strength was already in every citizen's mind. The spear she carried was mirrored in the choices of leaders who sought peace over reckless conquest. Each law written, each counsel gathered, felt as if guided by a thread woven from her eternal loom. The people of Athens celebrated her festivals with joy, dancing in her honor, lifting voices of gratitude. Olive wreaths crowned the heads of victors, not as spoils of war, but as symbols of peace and resilience. Ships sailed from the harbors, carrying olive oil as precious cargo, spreading her gift across the seas. Her presence reached beyond borders, reminding foreign lands of the goddess who nurtured knowledge and craft. Yet it was in Athens that her spirit burned brightest, in the laughter of children, the prayers of the old. She was not a distant deity, but a guardian who lived in the rhythm of their daily lives, calm and near. The city thrived because it was more than walls and markets. It was an idea, a promise shaped by her hand. Athena watched as generations passed, each one weaving their own part of the tapestry she had begun. The stones of the Acropolis echoed her name, carrying whispers of devotion into the sky above. Athens endured storms, conflicts, and trials, yet always returned to the olive tree, the symbol of her gift. Even when shadows fell, the people remembered that wisdom was their truest shield, their eternal guide. Athena's city was not perfect, but it was alive with the spirit of thought, courage, and endless striving. For in every marketplace, every school, every family meal, her blessing lingered like the glow of a lamp. Athens bore her name proudly, not as a trophy, but as a vow to seek clarity, fairness, and resilience. And so the city of Athena grew, shining as a testament to the power of wisdom over fleeting power. Her eternal spear did not strike down enemies, but pointed always toward balance, peace, and creation. Thus the city thrived, becoming the living heart of her legacy, the home of her olive, her wisdom, her name. The dawn of Athens was not only marked by temples and markets, but by the quiet hum of learning and craft. Athena's gift of wisdom spread like branches of her olive tree, touching every hand and every curious mind. In workshops, artisans shaped marble, clay, and bronze, guided by inspiration that felt whispered by the goddess. Potters turned their wheels slowly, forming vessels that would carry oil, wine, and stories across generations. Each crafted piece seemed more than function, as though Athena's touch made them symbols of harmony and grace. Weavers sat at their looms, threads crossing in careful rhythm, creating patterns that mirrored the order of thought. They said Athena herself once taught mortals the art of weaving, teaching patience, precision, and dignity. Every tapestry carried not only beauty, but a reminder that all creation is a dialogue between mind and hand. The olive groves grew thick on the hills, their silver leaves shimmering under the touch of the Attic sun. Families worked together to harvest, pressing oil that became light for lamps, balm for skin, and food for tables. The humble fruit of the goddess's gift carried within it the spirit of survival, endurance, and quiet strength. In the schools, children learned letters and numbers, the building blocks of philosophy and exploration to come. They recited stories of the gods, not only for worship, but to learn the morals hidden beneath divine tales. Athena's own myths inspired courage and prudence, guiding the young toward wisdom without need of fear. As voices rose in song during festivals, the city felt alive with her unseen presence, steady and benevolent. Every hymn carried gratitude, not for victory in war, but for peace, balance, and the blessings of clarity. Even the athletes who trained in the palestra wore olive wreaths to remind them of strength tempered by grace. Victory was not brute force, but control, discipline, and honor, virtues Athena herself embodied. Her owl, perched unseen on rooftops, watched as the city's life pulsed with harmony between thought and action. Merchants sold goods from across the seas, but more than trade, they brought stories, wisdom, and new ideas. Athens became a crossroads of cultures, where knowledge traveled as eagerly as spices and crafted wares. Each conversation at the agora seemed touched by her guidance, reminding mortals that every voice has weight. Here, Athena's lesson was simple. Wisdom thrives where many minds meet in dialogue, not where one dominates. The city flourished not in conquest, but in the quiet victories of thought, creation, and shared discovery. For each craftsman, each teacher, each child, the goddess was not distant, but close, patient and enduring. Even the elders, with eyes clouded by years, spoke of her as though she walked beside them in silence. She was not a goddess of fleeting tempers, but of constancy, like the olive tree that grows through all seasons. Athena's gift lay not in sudden miracles, but in the daily rhythm of work, study, and care for the city. In this, the people found strength, that their goddess taught them to shape their destiny with their own hands. The eternal spear did not strike. It pointed forward, guiding Athens toward a brighter horizon, yet unseen. Her wisdom became the city's foundation, stronger than marble, more enduring than any wall or weapon. And so, Athens, under her unseen hand, grew into more than a city. it became a living testament to her grace. Every sunrise seemed to whisper her name, and every olive leaf shimmered with the light of her eternal gift. The heart of Athens was not in its walls or weapons, but in its agora, where voices rose in endless exchange. Here, merchants set their stalls with fruits, spices, and fabrics. But trade was only half of the true treasure. The greater wealth lay in words, in questions that passed between citizens as freely as coins or goods. Athena's spirit lingered here, not in temples alone, but in the way minds opened to each other's thoughts. A young student might ask a question of a gray-bearded philosopher, and wisdom would ripple outward in circles. Each debate was not a battle, but a weaving of ideas, threads forming a cloth stronger than any armor. Men and women alike carried her lesson: to listen before speaking, to seek truth over prideful victory. The owl, symbol of her vision, seemed to fly above these gatherings, blessing the clarity of honest voices. In the council chambers, leaders weighed choices with patience, seeking harmony over ambition or rash desire. Athena's eternal spear did not strike there. It guided, pointing toward justice, fairness, and balance for all. The city thrived because its people believed dialogue was not weakness, but the truest sign of strength. When disputes arose, they were met not with swords, but with careful words shaped by respect and reason. This was the true shield of Athens, the wisdom to know that peace kept the city strong and united. Festivals of Athena echoed the same truth. Contests of poetry, music, and plays honored her spirit of thought. The stage became another kind of temple, where stories were told to remind mortals of choices and consequences. In those tales, the goddess's voice was felt, not in thunder, but in quiet truths hidden in the dialogue. Children watched wide-eyed, learning that theater was more than entertainment. It was a lesson in humanity. The agora by day was filled with commerce, but by night it was alive with storytellers and dreamers. Each voice added to the chorus of Athens, a harmony that honored Athena without need of grand miracles. She was there in every conversation, a quiet reminder that thought is sacred and words can shape destinies. Even as ships sailed across the seas, Athens remained anchored by this principle of shared knowledge. Foreigners came not only for trade, but to witness the miracle of a city that prized thought over conquest. They carried stories of Athens back to their lands, spreading the legend of a place built on dialogue. Thus the wisdom of Athena reached far beyond Greece, carried on winds of conversation and exchange. Her spear was eternal not because it struck, but because it pointed toward a future built by many minds. The olive oil lit the lamps, but it was her wisdom that lit the paths of citizens as they walked home. Each family meal became a place of teaching, where elders passed lessons as precious as any sacred gift. The goddess did not demand temples of gold, but asked that her people value truth, balance, and clarity. And so Athens grew not only in size, but in spirit, shaping itself as a city guided by her gentle hand. It became proof that wisdom is not an ornament, but the very foundation upon which a city can rise. Athena's eternal blessing was not a storm of power, but the calm, steady light of reason that never fades. In the quiet hours before dawn, Athens glowed softly with the promise of a city guided by divine wisdom. Athena's unseen hand rested over the rooftops, not as a shadow of power, but as a gentle shield of thought. Her blessings were not found in the clash of arms, but in the stillness where clarity grows like olive leaves. Each morning, citizens rose with purpose, carrying in their hearts the memory of her eternal, steady presence. the farmers walked to their groves, whispering gratitude to the goddess who turned soil into strength and peace. They knew that every branch of the olive tree was more powerful than any blade forged in the heat of war. Merchants prepared their goods, filling baskets with oils, fabrics, and crafted treasures to offer in the agora. But beneath each exchange of coin lay a deeper exchange, the silent spread of Athena's calm and wisdom. The children laughed in the streets, chasing each other as if watched over by the owl of their guardian. Teachers gathered students beneath shaded porticos, speaking of balance, justice, and the pursuit of knowledge. Athena was not only in the temples built of stone, but in the living lessons shared in voices and deeds. The eternal spear she carried symbolized direction, pointing mortals toward paths that nurtured clarity and truth. As the city stirred to life, the people carried her lessons as naturally as they carried water from the well. Each task, however humble, became part of the greater story of a city built upon wisdom and resilience. In the council, leaders listened carefully, remembering that Athena's gift was fairness, not prideful command. Every voice mattered, and even the smallest word could ripple outward to shape the destiny of the polis. Festivals reminded Athenians that joy too was sacred, and laughter could be as holy as solemn prayer. The dances carried the rhythm of harmony, bodies moving in circles that echoed the cycle of seasons. Songs honored the goddess not with pleas for conquest, but with gratitude for peace, thought, and clarity. The city was a vessel, and Athena was the light that filled it, shining without need of thunder or storm. Travelers from distant lands marveled not only at temples, but at the spirit of wisdom alive in daily life. They returned to their homes carrying stories of a goddess who guided through thought rather than force. Her reputation spread wider than borders, a current of respect carried by the winds across seas and mountains. Athena's name became not only divine, but human, spoken in gratitude by those who lived under her gift. In moments of doubt, Athenians turned not to weapons, but to her guidance, trusting her eternal watch. The owl's flight at twilight was a reminder that even in darkness, the eyes of wisdom see clearly ahead. She showed her people that resilience is not born in fury, but in calm, steady choices repeated each day. The eternal spear was never lifted in anger. It remained a guiding star, pointing always toward balance. And so, Athens grew not in dominance, but in depth, its spirit echoing the constancy of its divine protector. The city became a mirror of its goddess, strong, wise, graceful, and devoted to harmony above all. Athena's story was not distant myth, but a living truth carried in the breath of her people each morning. Every olive tree, every lamp lit at dusk, every voice lifted in debate was her temple, her offering, her hymn. Thus her eternal presence endured, not in fear, but in love, wisdom, and the unshaken strength of peace. Athens stood as a living hymn to Athena, not only in stone temples, but in the rhythm of daily life itself. The goddess was present in every hand that built, every mind that questioned, and every heart that sought clarity. Her blessing was woven into the city's breath, as natural as the rising sun over the Acropolis each morning. Farmers carried her spirit in their harvests, knowing the olive was not mere food, but a symbol of endurance. Artisans felt her presence in their craft, shaping marble with patience, guided by the wisdom of steady hands. The agora echoed her gift most clearly, a place where ideas were traded as eagerly as wine or grain. Here, Athena's lesson flourished, that truth emerges not from force, but from dialogue and shared understanding. The eternal spear pointed always toward balance, reminding leaders that justice must be the root of every law. In this way, Athens became not only strong, but deeply human, a city of compassion as much as intellect. The festivals of Athena carried this truth into music, drama, and games that celebrated harmony over conquest. Actors performed stories that revealed the weight of choices, reminding citizens that wisdom guides destiny. Children learned through laughter and story that life's victories are found in clarity, not reckless power. Philosophers spoke in shaded courtyards, lifting questions toward the heavens where the owl of Athena watched. Each question was a prayer of its own, an offering not of incense, but of curiosity and searching thought. The goddess was honored in silence as much as in song, for even stillness carried her eternal presence. Travelers marveled that Athens was alive not only with wealth, but with a devotion to knowledge and fairness. They carried these stories across seas, spreading the legend of a city guided by the calm hand of Athena. Her influence grew beyond borders, becoming a beacon for those who dreamed of wisdom shaping their lands. In this way, the Eternal Spear extended far beyond stone walls, guiding countless hearts in distant places. For Athena's blessing was never limited to the chosen city, but poured outward like sunlight through leaves. Each olive grove whispered her endurance. Each lit lamp glowed with her promise of reason and protection. Citizens prayed not for dominance, but for clarity, for guidance in the choices that wove their daily lives. And Athena, though unseen, answered with calm strength, filling the city with resilience and lasting peace. Even in moments of uncertainty, the people trusted her watchful gaze, steady as the owl above their roofs. Athens thrived not because of conquest, but because it believed wisdom was a greater shield than steel. Her eternal gift was not a fleeting miracle, but the steady rhythm of learning, dialogue, and creation. The people knew that the goddess was with them not only in glory, but in the ordinary pulse of existence. Every market stall, every schoolroom, every family table carried her presence as surely as the Parthenon. Thus, Athens became eternal, not in stone alone, but in spirit, a living testament to the spear of Athena. Her story was not carved in distant myths, but lived daily, in choices, in voices, in the courage to seek truth. The eternal spear pointed not backward to war, but forward to wisdom, lighting the path for generations. The eternal spear was not only a gift for rulers or scholars, but for every soul who sought balance in life. Athena's wisdom did not belong to temples alone, but flowed in kitchens, workshops, and quiet household gardens. Mothers invoked her name when guiding children, teaching that strength comes with patience and fairness combined. Fathers honored her through honesty in trade, believing wealth without justice would soon turn to dust. Children felt her presence in their play, learning that games were not about triumph, but about respect and unity. Every life carried her influence, whether in noble halls or humble homes where bread was shared in gratitude. The eternal spear shone not with iron, but with light, piercing confusion and guiding choices both small and great. Farmers facing storms or drought prayed not for conquest, but for resilience and clear thinking to endure. Athena's spirit whispered in their work, reminding them that steady hands create miracles from simple soil. Artists, too, felt her guidance, painting visions of harmony and carving statues that breathed silent dignity. In their creations, the goddess lived again, not as myth, but as presence shaping the beauty of each form. Sailors carried her name into the sea, trusting her wisdom to guide them through uncertain winds and tides. The owl, her companion, was etched upon their vessels, a quiet symbol of vision piercing the endless dark. Merchants honored Athena in every fair deal, knowing that commerce without trust could never truly flourish. Her influence was the invisible thread weaving communities together, stronger than walls or armies could make. She taught that wealth is not found in gold, but in the shared laughter of friends and the peace of neighbors. As evening fell, families lit lamps and told stories of the goddess, their words carrying her spirit forward. Each tale reminded listeners that wisdom is not distant or divine alone, but alive in daily choices. Through these stories, the eternal spear glowed, pointing toward a life shaped by clarity and thoughtful action. Travelers passing through Athens felt this presence, sensing a harmony rare among the cities of their journeys. They spoke of markets where fairness was expected, of courts where justice was guided by reason, not fear. They marveled at citizens who debated openly, treating truth as treasure more precious than silver or jewels. The legacy of Athena was not sealed in victory, but alive in the freedom of voices rising together. Even strangers were welcomed with kindness, offered bread, wine, and stories under the same protective gaze. In such gestures, Athena's hand was seen, teaching that generosity is the foundation of enduring strength. The eternal spear was a reminder, not to destroy, but to illuminate, not to divide, but to unite. This spirit carried across the seas, inspiring distant lands to dream of cities built upon wisdom's stone. Her lesson was eternal. Greatness is not measured in battles won, but in harmony preserved and knowledge shared. Thus, Athena's story reached beyond Olympus, beyond myth, living in the rhythm of countless ordinary lives. The eternal spear pointed forward still, guiding hearts toward truth, fairness, and the courage to live with care. The wisdom of Athena did not end with the city, for her presence flowed into nature and the rhythm of the earth. The eternal spear was said to steady the winds, turning storms into lessons and chaos into calm direction. In the quiet of forests, her spirit lingered, teaching that patience and observation reveal truths hidden in silence. Birds that nested in high branches seemed to echo her owl, vigilant and calm, guardians of sacred wisdom. Streams carried her blessing, their flowing waters reminding mortals that clarity comes when thoughts move like rivers. The olive tree, her eternal gift, stood as her living temple, rooted deep yet reaching toward the open sky. Each harvest was a prayer answered, not in grandeur, but in the nourishment of body and the strength of spirit. Fishermen believed her gaze rested on the sea, guiding their nets with fairness, blessing them with honest catches. She taught through nature that balance sustains life. Take only what is needed, give back what ensures renewal. She was not the roar of thunder, but the steady glow of a lantern guiding through the long night. In mountains, travelers felt her watch, their courage renewed as paths revealed themselves beneath her silent hand. The eternal spear pointed toward harmony with land, reminding mortals they were caretakers, not conquerors of earth. Animals, too, were honored as her teachers. For the owl's sharp sight was wisdom, the horse's strength was trust. Athena's presence urged respect for all creatures, seeing in each a fragment of truth and a partner in balance. Farmers prayed not for dominance over land, but for cooperation with the soil, learning patience from its cycles. They knew each seed was a story, each root a promise, each fruit a lesson in care and endurance. Thus, Athena's spirit was present not only in temples, but in every field, every grove, every humble barn. Even storms were seen as her voice, calling mortals to reflection, reminding them that strength begins within. She taught that wisdom is not a single act, but a steady rhythm, like seasons turning without haste or end. The eternal spear was her symbol of continuity, piercing time itself, pointing beyond fleeting moments of glory. Children learned these truths by watching nature, guided by elders who spoke of Athena in wind and fire. They saw the owl in the night sky and knew it meant watchfulness, a call to seek truth without fear. They saw the olive tree endure drought and bloom again and knew it meant resilience in life's many trials. Her lessons were lived, not memorized, carried in daily acts of kindness, fairness, and patience with the world. In this way, Athena became not just a goddess of wisdom, but of Earth's eternal dialogue with humankind. Travelers told of lands where she was unknown, yet her spirit was felt wherever harmony replaced violence. For wisdom is not bound by names or temples, but is a universal language written in stone, water, and sky. Athena's eternal spear glowed brighter in silence, guiding mortals to look deeper, listen longer, and choose with care. Her presence was the gentle truth that greatness grows when humanity learns to live as part of the whole. Thus, the story of Athena's wisdom continued, written not only in Athens, but in the breath of the living earth. And so, dear listener, we reach the end of this journey. Though Athena's light continues far beyond our words, the eternal spear remains unbroken, not of bronze or iron, but of wisdom, clarity, and the promise of balance. Her story is not a tale of conquest, but of guidance, showing mortals the strength of fairness and steady thought. Even now, across centuries, her presence lingers, quiet yet firm, reminding us that truth does not fade with time. The olive tree still stands as her living monument, rooted in earth, rising toward the eternal sky of hope. Its fruit sustains, its branches shade, its endurance whispers that patience is the foundation of lasting strength. The owl still glides through the night, carrying her gaze, teaching us to see what lies hidden in shadow. In cities and villages, in families and friendships, her spirit dwells, a quiet hand guiding choices each day. She reminds us that greatness is not thunder, but the quiet glow of justice carried into daily actions. The eternal spear does not demand fear, but invites courage. The courage to listen, to question, to act with care. Her lessons live not only in books of myth, but in the choices we make, the voices we raise for truth. Athena's story is a reminder that wisdom is eternal, not bound by temples, nor silenced by passing time. Each generation holds her gift anew, shaping their world with reason, fairness, and compassion as their guide. The cities we build today, the bonds we honor, the questions we ask, all carry her light forward once more. She is not a goddess of the past, but a presence within us, urging clarity where confusion clouds the way. Her eternal spear shines when we choose kindness, when we defend fairness, when we act with mindful courage. And so her tale is never finished, for it lives in us, in every step toward a more thoughtful world. The Parthenon may weather with time, but Athena's spirit outlives stone, carried in hearts that value wisdom. Her story does not ask for worship, but for remembrance, that we too are keepers of her eternal flame. As we close this journey, let us hold her gifts: patience in struggle, clarity in doubt, fairness in judgment. Athena's light is the compass that turns us not toward conquest, but toward harmony and shared understanding. The eternal spear points always ahead, a path not of war, but of reason, balance, and enduring hope. And though myths fade into memory, her presence endures, alive in the rhythm of our human story. So walk with courage, dear listener, and carry Athena's wisdom as your own unshaken, eternal spear.